Everyone, I'm Ralph, and welcome to another episode of the hotel version of Bartending with Ralphie. I'm Ralph, your mediocre bartender host, hoping I'll get more than 20 views on my video. I've come to the conclusion that the only way I'm going to get a viral video is if I do one of these with a cold or pneumonia or something. Anyway, I'm stuck here in lovely Bradenton, Florida. Not a bad place. I mean, January in Florida is not too bad a gig, I guess. But anyway, I've had to spend the evening at the laundromat, and that was no fun. No fun at all. So I thought, I'll get a drink, but all the bars are really packed, and I just don't want to deal with the crowd. So I got some stuff to make some basic things, and then I thought, why not talk a little bit about tiki drinks and do a hotel variation on one. Tiki drinks are something that are just craziness. When you look up, look up a recipe, like look up a Mai Tai, and you'll get a bazillion different recipes, some which bear no resemblance to the original at all, other than it has rum. And when you look at it, it kind of makes sense how the tiki drinks especially suffered from this, just because they were, at first, there was between, I guess, Trader Vic and Don the Beachcomber, the two big starters of the tiki cocktail movement. There was a lot of secrecy and competition between the two, so a lot of their drinks were just, quite frankly, secret. And the recipes, people just had to duplicate them based on, well, I remember how it tasted, so we'll put a little this, a little that, and we'll call it the drink. The other thing is a lot of these drinks are very ingredient intensive. Gosh, I guess a Don the Beachcomber zombie has a myriad of ingredients. So you can also see why, like a bar and a bartender doesn't really want to spend a lot of time pouring all these ingredients to make a drink. So you can see how over time, and if you look it up on the internet or whatever, you'll get so many different recipes for so many of these, what you call the tiki cocktails. And that's because, I think, it's just because you got a bunch of ingredients and stuff, and they're costly to make, they're time consuming to make, so let's make them a little bit simpler, and we'll call it Drink X. One of the tiki drinks that probably not too many people drink anymore, although they should, is a Fogcutter. A Fogcutter is an interesting drink because it breaks one of the rules that I guess a lot of bartenders back in the day and today still talk about. Like, it has 3 base liquors in it. It has rum, it has brandy, and it has gin. Yes, gin. Rum, brandy, gin, lemon juice, orgeat, which again, remember, is just like an almond milk type syrup. What am I forgetting? Nah, it's got something else, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So anyway, I'm gonna I'm gonna make a hotel. Oh, orange juice. I'm gonna make a hotel version. So this is not the original. This is not the original Fogcutter recipe. Of course, the original Fogcutter recipe, 1.5 ounces of, and the proportions change. Even if you try to look up the original, you get different proportions. But the original is an 1.5 ounces of brandy, rum, 1/2 ounce of brandy, 1/2 ounce of gin. Some say a half, some say an ounce of lemon juice. I find an ounce is too much for me, so I go with a 1/2 ounce. 2 ounces of orange juice, and a 1/2 ounce of orgeat syrup. Now, I saw a video where a pretty renowned bartending guy, he's got a very popular blog, used almond syrup. Can you use almond syrup? Yes, you can. It does change the character of the drink. You miss out on this creamy aspect that you get from the orgeat. But you can use it in a pinch. And if you're in a hotel, I guess it's like a easy, you can. However, I got lucky, and at the Publix, I found some really good almond milk. So again, I made my homemade hotel orgeat, which is simply equal parts almond milk and sugar and like a spoonful of almond extract. So I got my orgeat here. So let's make a hotel version of it. Something that, like, man, I'm going to do this interesting drink, but I don't want to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on liquor. But I want to have something different than just something I can put back into that I can make here in the hotel. It's something like interesting. And listen, Fogcutter is an interesting drink. It's a great drink, and I highly, highly recommend it. And I guess Fogcutter was a diving knife. I don't know. Maybe somebody who knows something about diving can expand on that point. But I guess it was a type of knife. I'm going to call this, since it's not original, I'm not going to call it a Fogcutter. I'm going to call it Ralph's Hotel Fogcutter. I know, not very imaginative. But anyway, again, my homemade measuring cup. The first line's a half of part, and then you can see I've made successive marks on 1 part, 1.5 parts, and 2 parts. So like a homemade measuring cup. Remember, I don't know if it's an ounce, I don't know if it's a half ounce or whatever. I'm just like, I made a mark, and that's what I'm sticking with. So let's get started. So we'll start with and my water bottle shaker. So we're going to get started here. We're going to start with 2 ounces of rum, and yes, this is a big old hurtin' big bottle of Publix rum, and it's not the best rum in the world, but you know what? It mixes okay. It's a decent rum. It's not anything great. It's not anything bad. And it was a big old bottle of it for like $15. I'm like, whoa. So yeah, I got the big giant bottle. So I got a lot to drink, or I'm going to wind up shipping a lot of this home. So anyway, we'll go with like 2 ounces, or two ounces, but since I don't know if I'm using an ounce, just 2 parts. I'm going to use a part that equals 1 ounce. So I'll get like 2 ounces or 2 parts rum. Set this on the floor. Pour that into my... Ooh, did I crack that? Hope not. Alright. The next is... Now the next would you'd add the gin and the brandy. I don't have that. So I'm going to skip those, which kind of makes it like not the original Fogcutter. And when you go to a lot of bars, I'll bet you find they do the same thing, because they either don't know or figure 90% of the population doesn't know, so they're going to make you something with a lot of rum and juice and call it a Fogcutter, and you're going to be happy with it because it'll still be good. So anyway, the next ingredient is orange juice. Now, I know everybody says use fresh squeeze. I'm not going to fresh squeeze oranges in my hotel room. I just ain't. I got better things to do with my time. So I just got some good orange juice. So 2 parts of the orange juice. See how simple all this is? It's not that hard. And you can have something interesting in a hotel room. You can like call, hey look, I made Fogcutters in my hotel room. Not perfect Fogcutters, but pretty good ones. So we'll put that in there. Now, the next is lemon juice. I've seen an ounce, I've seen a half ounce. I'm going to go with a half ounce, or a half part in this case, because I think a part's a bit too much for my taste. This is one thing where I don't have an issue like adjusting juices to and the sweet and sour to your personal taste. I mean, that's what people are like been doing forever. So a lot of recipes call for an ounce. I just think that's too much, so I'm going to go with a half. So there's a half. I'll just swirl that around for a second. Now, my homemade orgeat. Now it says a half part. Here's where I'm going to make another adjustment because I'm kind of playing with the formula here, and I'm going to go with 1 because personally I like the taste of orgeat. So, an ounce of my homemade orgeat. Did turn out pretty good. Not as good as the homemade stuff that I really like make at home from the scratch, but it's not bad. Hey, that smells good. Alright, so now we'll put some... Another thing that I'm stuck using is hotel ice. Hotel ice would be called bad quality ice. Why? Because it's kind of wet and kind of like crackly, chunky kind of ice, so it's not the best ice to use. But again, I don't really have a choice. It's the only game in town, right? A couple more chunks. Uh-oh. Where's the lid? Ah, here it is. The lid on here. See, all this is easy. All you need is like a cup, a marker, an arbitrary point, some rum, some orange juice, some, if you don't want to like make the orgeat, get you like one of those small little things of almond syrup there by the coffee aisle there, or just get you like the really good almond milk and mix it with some sugar and a few drops of almond extract. There you go. Give it a good shake here. Now, rather than just like kind of like dumping this in there, because the other problem is I don't have like a bigger cup. I'm using hotel cups. I'm going to put a little bit of the quote unquote fresh ice into here rather than just like you see a lot of people just shake it up. Like when I'm making a Mai Tai at home, I just shake it up and I just dump it in the cup. So we'll just put that in there. And you can see, you can probably see, hopefully that comes out. You can see it's got kind of like that, like almost like a creamsicle look because of the orgeat, the almond milk syrup, vice almond syrup. You wouldn't kind of get that creamy look, or that creamy taste. One other thing that's in a Fogcutter, there's usually a float on top. I've seen most times they reference sherry, and sometimes they reference cream sherry. Martin Cade, who's like a San Francisco rum bar god type person, he uses Pisco brandy. I guess it's called Pisco, whatever. Pisco brandy, and uses an Amontillado sherry, which is kind of a very dry, earthy kind of sherry for a float. The old Edna's Fogcutters, they had a cherry brandy float. And then, of course, people now think cherry brandy is cherry hearing, which it isn't, but that would work. And you can see again how it gets fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier. So anyway, now I've made this wonderful, I've made this wonderful drink. I'm going to enjoy it now. And Netflix and chill here in my lovely hotel room. Maybe take a little bit of walk later. Heck, I don't know. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this. Make sure to tell somebody else to watch it. Gosh, if I could like break 30 views, man, I'd be like ecstatic. Woohoo!